Okay, so here we are in the Apprentice Channeling Group. It's always a pleasure to be here with these amazing souls as each soul learns the backbone of channeling. The thesis of channeling is to step aside. And as we spoke last week, we learned about Lemuria a little bit. It was the tip of the iceberg. Wanting to learn about Lemuria could be a lifetime. But you got the taste of it, of the divine feminine, the first culture on planet Earth, named Lemuria, the divine feminine. And so tonight we are here to speak about, to learn about our Atlantean self. Who were you in Atlantis? And how does that self mirror your life today? What's important for you to know? And so let's talk about it a little bit. As I mentioned last week, there was not a war between Lemuria and Atlantis. Why is not Lemuria here? And that is because her manifestation, the task at hand was realized, and she went back through the same corridors that she was born of. She went back to the light, and thus was born a masculine interpretation of life called Atlantis. So colorful. This is where we learn of the blending of consciousness, mermaids, mermen, the idea of pan, the idea of experimentation between different species. We still see that today. Our scientists still want to explore a tiger that's living in Siberia, and what would that lion do that's living in Africa? Those two would never meet. They would never have the opportunity to meet, but yet they put them together. They want to, for some odd reason, they want to see what these two would do. Well, where did that come from? Where did those seeds of interest come from? They were born in Atlantis. So Atlantis did not end in one night or in one day. Atlantis took over 500 years. And many of us reincarnated over and over and over to save it because we knew what was happening. Atlantis was absolutely beautiful. And I want to tell you both, many years ago, we did at Night on Atlantis, and a woman had her very first channeling experience. And it was so beautiful because a friend of hers from Atlantis came through. And he had waited, I'm going to start crying, he had waited 50,000 years for her to be ready. And there was so much emotion in the room. I pulled myself out of trance because I was like, I wanted to talk to him. And it changed her life. And I said to this being, I said, what did Atlantis look like? And he said, Atlantis was beautiful. Imagine no pollution. Imagine the waters being so clear. Imagine that the peak of creativity. This is the expression of the sacred male. Now, the sacred male also got a little bit twisted too, because they were exploring that. So this is where the gun was invented. We think Leonardo invented the gun. He did in the modern world, but the gun actually was invented in Atlantis. So yes, there was a few problems with that. People were shot. But they also used crystal healing. And there was a giant mountain made of crystal. And people would go and stand in front of that mountain and not only communicate with it, but be rejuvenated, be fulfilled by the crystal. Also in Atlantis, you would walk down the street and you would see the higher self in the individual. And that would trigger the awakening of the higher self, and the two higher selves would speak to each other. So there was a time of the Golden Age of Atlantis. There was the temples in Atlantis, the temples of dreaming, the temples of remembering, the temples of healing. And what many don't know is not everyone perished from Atlantis. Many survived, and they went to Egypt and built Egypt. And that is just now beginning to be uncovered and discovered by Egyptologists, that Egypt is far older than they thought. So our history is starting to come together in ways that we weren't exactly told. The Sphinx, the feet of the Sphinx hold records. The paws of the Sphinx hold records. And so tonight, as we do every week, as you call your beings in, you call in your channeling guide, you call in your higher self, ask them, who were you in Atlantis? What was your role? And how does that weave itself into the life you're in now? We are living in exciting times, but crazy times as well, where we're seeing our civilization change right before our very eyes. Many of us are reincarnated Atlanteans that have come forth in this lifetime to change the outcome. Now, it wasn't just one night. And by the way, the last day of Atlantis, you're going to love this, October 31st was the last day of Atlantis. We call it Halloween, but we know because the veils are thin. The veils are very thin. So those of us that were healers, channels, shamans, magic workers, light workers, were working very hard, lifetime after lifetime. But what happened in Atlantis? Was it an earthquake? Was it a tidal wave? What happened? And we have learned from Spirit that some of the crystals got into the wrong hands. Very few got into the wrong hands. And they programmed them. So if it comes up for you tonight, if you feel a great deal of emotion, let that through. Your dreams have already been priming you for that. Let through the emotion. Let's let it out. Let's let it through. Now we do find pottery. We do find remnants of Atlantis. But Atlantis will be found through the crystals. Every quartz crystal is born out of the mountain crystal from Atlantis. Every quartz crystal has that memory. No matter how big, no matter how small, was born from that. And that crystal is devoid of human ego. That means ripe, pure information, willing to be shared with you. Let me correct that statement. Every quartz crystal comes from Lemuria and Atlantis. Because as Lemuria was getting ready to go back to where she came, the sages, the mystics, the dreamers began to program the quartz crystals with rainbows. Remember we talked last week about the rainbows? So whenever you see a crystal with a rainbow, that has the Lemuria energy in it. So quartz crystals are a derivative of those ancient lands, and they are resurfacing now. They are tools of co-creators. Science was huge in Atlantis. Studying, bringing different species together. The curiosity of what would happen with women, a woman, and a fish, a man and a horse. And these were done on slabs, huge slabs of crystal, like the size of a mattress. And they worked with laser and light. And there was years and years of a great deal of happiness. Crystal skulls were first brought forth in the time of Lemuria, but they were also used in Atlantis, the crystal skull. And even though crystal skulls are formed today in our contemporary world by hands of people today, in the ancient times, they were not carved by any kind of tool. How were they made? Open yourself up to get that information. And maybe there's a crystal skull that would be willing to talk to you and talk through you. A crystal formed in the like image of a human. We're not talking about a foot. We're not talking about a hand. We're not talking about an elbow. Why a head? Why a skull? It's devoid of human ego. No bone, no muscle, no blood flow. But yet you can merge with that consciousness. It can bring consciousness through it. It is a bridge, just like channeling is a bridge. So the crystal skulls were very prominent in Atlantis. And if you ever have the chance to be with one of the ancient skulls, go for it. It is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal experience. And so it is, as we remember these ancient times, we remember the ancientness within ourselves. We remember the old souls that indeed that we are, and that this is not our first incarnation. We have incarnated time and time and time again. And we bring that memory with us in our DNA, in our soul, in each and every cell within our being. And a lot of times, if we don't become conscious, our life becomes a pattern of those past experiences. And as we seek to become enlightened, as we seek to become conscious, we seek to know more of ourselves, of who we were in those past incarnations, and why we have incarnated today. Why we have incarnated today. And so the idea would be to utilize the strengths of those former realities and to bring them into the now moment, to know how we tripped, how we fell, what blocked us, what were our fears, so that we can harness those, transmute them to bring them into the now moment. And you might find out that you're not that different today than you were back then, that you have the same interests. So here we are in the 21st century. We've explored the feminine. We've explored the masculine. And here we are living in a world that is breaking down. How will you create it anew? What are the gifts that you brought into this lifetime to resurrect now? You don't have to take on the world. All you have to do is just your part. That's all. No one else's job, just your own. How big, how small, how magnificent, how simple. It all matters. It all matters. It's absolutely beautiful. A gentle smile to someone on the street that you don't know can illuminate them right in that moment that they illuminate another. Sometimes people have very big responsibilities. They take on the mountain. And another times people have smaller responsibilities, but it is a smaller responsibility that might trigger the one that wants to take on the mountain. And so each part is a catalyst to the next. A mother that chooses to be the CEO of her home and to raise the children to go out into the world is just as important as someone that is radically visible to the masses. Because that mother might go to the mailbox, the post office that day, and just rub elbows with the right person who happens to be connected to the thousands. So everyone has a divine purpose in the matrix of rebuilding our world. And you are here, you are listening to this because you are part of it. You are part of it. And so as this golden light is now up above your head, we usually start with a sphere of light, a sphere of white light, but tonight, a golden shaft of light is right up above your head. And it begins to pierce the top of your head, a brilliant golden light. It is an Atlantean light, the light of Atlantis. So much pain. When we think of Atlantis, we think of the destruction. But this light comes tonight to remind you of the golden days of Atlantis. Let that light fill you. Filling up your head, filling up your brain, this brilliant golden light. Filling up your face, filling up your neck, traveling to your shoulders, filling up your chest, the middle of yourself, separating into two, the legs. And now you are a golden light in form. And you know what to do as always. In this vibration of light, you call upon your highest self. And as you feel your higher self come to you, you invite your channeling guide, the one that works with you in your channeling process, and tell them of your quest tonight, with your heart open, not with your mind, with your heart, that you wish to meet your Atlantean self that is relevant to your life today. You are willing to step aside and to know all that is important, all that is necessary. And with love and for love, you are a being of light. You are a being of light.